This is the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast with your host, Vicki Davis.
Are you looking for amazing professional development in the new year? Today's sponsor is Edge U Badges from Forward Edge. Stay tuned at the show's end to learn how these powerful micro-credentials can help you with your accreditation needs and for a discount coupon code for a premium account. Now, on with the show. 4 aspects of the entrepreneurial mindset, episode 829. Today, I'm so excited to be talking to Stephen Carter, author of The Entrepreneurial Mindset. He is a director of entrepreneurship and sustainability, been teaching for 18 years. He was a former English teacher, but for the last 10 years, he's been developing an entrepreneurship program. Welcome to the show, Stephen.
Thank you so much. I am thrilled to be here.
We are going to talk about the 4 attributes of an entrepreneurial mindset. And I do want to add, you've said that it's not just about entrepreneurship, it's about engaging students, isn't it? So is this something that can apply to any classroom?
Any classroom, any age. And that's what I tell a lot of people. This is not a high school program. It's not just a program. It's a mindset shift for all educators, parents, and anybody involved in education.
So we can bring the entrepreneurial mindset to English and to science and to history. I just want to be real clear about that because I don't want people who don't teach business to say, this isn't for me. This is something we can do in every class.
Every class. In fact, I have a conversation in 2 days with a group of elementary educators about how to do this in a kindergarten classroom, a first grade classroom, how to do this at every level because it is about student engagement first and foremost.
Excellent. Okay. What's our first attribute?
Oh, I love it. It's growth mindset. Now, this builds on the work of Carol Dweck. We're really familiar with this phrase, growth mindset. But for us, this is about instilling the idea of a directed growth. And this really comes through mission, vision, values. So, when you think business, businesses often have mission, vision, values. We focus on helping students determine their core values early in life so that there is a directed growth for them. Our students are developing personal growth plans. And, there's this idea that education should be creating lifelong learners. And yet many of our students, after they graduate, no longer even read a book. We're focused on truly harnessing that lifelong love of learning in the growth mindset. That is our first core foundational attribute.
I was just writing something last week as we record this show that was talking about when students set their own goals and are constantly monitoring their goals and are taught those skills, that learning goes up in whatever class uses that technique. So you're really helping students. And see, us teachers, we should have personal learning plans too, shouldn't we?
Oh, absolutely. I think everybody should. And I'm glad you brought up goals, Vicki, because this is foundational. I tell people all the time, entrepreneurship is goal setting. Pure and simple. Now, I've got young kids myself, and if they graduate from school knowing nothing other than how to set and achieve goals, I'll be a happy parent. And that actually leads into the second attribute, which is grit. Now, Angela Duckworth defines grit as passion and perseverance toward long-term goals. So I tell every teacher, listen, have a goal for your class, a collaborative goal, have a scoreboard on the wall, help your students develop lead measures and lag measures, and you will do more to inspire them than I believe any other assessment that year.
So grit is in determination and persistence. In my classroom, a lot of times I'll call it persistence. You persistently move towards a goal. I talk a lot to teachers about innovating like a turtle, which is slow, steady moving forward. I have read some criticisms of grit for example, you have a student who is just in a horrific circumstance. The home life is terrible. And some teachers have been caught just saying, well, you need to have grit. I mean, you're not washing over injustice here when you say grit, are you?
Oh, no, not at all. This idea of grit is really something that is often associated with athletics. We look at these classic sports movies and things, and we're like, look at that grit, look at that determination. This goes hand in hand with growth mindset. This is about us as educators stepping away from rewarding talent and focusing more on effort. Because when we say, oh, you're so smart, well, now what we're doing is inherently creating within students this desire to not push themselves. When we call out effort trumps talent. That's what we want students to understand. That's what's important.
And we should not, quote, brag on attributes. We should focus on the effort because that's what truly makes a difference. Because those with a fixed mindset, as those who are listening probably know, are the people who think that your talent or your ability level is fixed. It cannot change. No matter what you do, this is who you are. And so that causes people who are very successful actually not to listen to feedback, because they think if feedback means I'm not this, and they don't understand that they can grow and improve in every area.
And that's it. That's the definition of growth mindset, right? This ability to improve. And once you believe that, unfortunately, many of our students develop a fixed mindset by pretty early in their educational career. So when we work with high school students, Vicki, it's often about undoing the fixed mindset to return to the growth mindset, so that when you are applying grit, it goes hand in hand with that idea that I can improve. Carol Dweck has the whole thing called the power of yet. I'm not there yet, right? There's so much power in that.
You're totally speaking my language, Stephen. We could just talk all day about this, but we also need to move to number 3, which is a really important point.
It's so important, and it builds off of this. And I liken this to a platform. Think of it as like a launch pad. We can't really launch a business until we have a foundation in place of what it means to think like an entrepreneur. And that means growth mindset. That means grit. And then so important is that we redefine failure, that true failure is not trying in the first place. Right? We have to help our students understand that. And again, that kind of goes back to that grit and that effort. Sarah Blakely does a lot of talk about this in her masterclass. And she talks about this idea that what are we trying that we are failing in? Because that's where the learning happens. It's a beautiful concept.
And I just have to add this study. I literally just did a post on some of this, that there was a ceramics teacher and split the class in 2. And you've probably heard about this study. And half the class, she said she was going to grade based on the weight of how much pottery they produced. 50 pounds is an A, 40 pounds is a B, 30 pounds is a C, and so forth. The other half of the class just had to produce one beautiful piece of pottery. And if it was perfect, they got an A. Well, what they found was that the class that was based on weight actually produced higher quality work than the people who sat around and pontificated on the theories of what made a great pieces of pottery, because they were failing fast, failing quickly, and learning rapidly. And we have got to shift. Instead of writing one perfect paper in a semester, you taught English, you should be writing papers every day, right?
Every day. And you've launched upon one of my favorite studies. And really what that plays into is this idea that we need to be biased for action. We cannot just sit around and wait. And I'm glad you actually brought that up, because this is actually the 4th attribute, which is opportunity seeking. And in a nutshell, I liken this to the story of the Greek god of opportunity, who only had a lock of hair in the front of his head. The rest of his head was completely bald. So what would happen is he would come running by, and you had to be ready to grab the lock of hair. Otherwise, all you got was the back of the head. And that is such an important lesson for our students, is you can't sit around and wait. Opportunity is there, but it's for those who are on their tiptoes, ready, anticipating to grab that hair, seize it, and follow it down with that grit they've developed, unafraid of failure, because they have a growth mindset.
Okay, so what do you do? Because you've been doing this for 10 years now. What do you do when, some students, one thing we know is that if parents are entrepreneurs at home or teach this at home, those students obviously have an advantage. And sometimes you come across kids who they really need more guidance. They need more encouragement. This is not who they are as a person. And so you are reteaching and helping kids learn it again. What do you do when you see that discrepancy, that difference between the kids, and how do you bring all of the students into the success?
That's a great question. And it often comes back to what you mentioned earlier on, which is goals. And we start with the small winnable goals to build that confidence. And as that confidence is built, we move forward. Now, our program is built on hands-on work. So our students are building businesses. And this is a scalable program that we're now seeing in about 9 different schools around the United States. But it's this idea of taking the opportunity that they will build those durable, those human skills. But as they're doing that, the confidence and sense of ownership piece is going to help them understand. It's like the Karate Kid, right? You're waxing on, you're waxing off. You don't realize you're learning karate until it's put to the test. But that's how this works.
I know that last semester I had an app building project, and then they had a Shark Tank. The kids, there were 3 girls who created an app that helped children who had struggles with anxiety and depression and all that sort of thing. And the transformation in those three young ladies was absolutely incredible. They said they grew closer together. They walk taller. They are different people because they had that opportunity. I mean, tell me a story of transformation that you've seen happen, because I just want educators to understand what happens when you get into this type of.
I'm going to give you two real quick ones. The first is with a student of mine named Luke, Luke was the kind of student who just didn't have a lot of sense of confidence. And Luke was operating our coffee bar at the school, and the coffee bar has a hand sink behind it. Well, that hand sink developed a leak all of a sudden, right? Water's going everywhere. So they make a super fast phone call to me. Well, I'm teaching. I can't leave my class. So I just text back, figure it out. Now we're talking like water is like gushing, right? And so I make it down there as quick as I can, but it's about 10 minutes. And when I make it down there, Luke is just smiling ear to ear. And I'm like, what'd you do? He's like, Mr. Carter, did you know there's a shutoff valve on the water line? I found it and I used it. Now I'm like, yeah, well, obviously, but in my mind, I'm like, Luke is 4 inches taller now, because he solved the problem in real time and he's proud of himself. Now, real quick, there's a school in Las Vegas that I visited a few months back, and they have this innovative education project where they go into nursing homes with students who operate 3D printers, and they collect problems. There was one resident whose hands were so crippled she couldn't hold her playing cards. And the students created a prototype with a 3D printer of a device to hold the cards for her. Now, those young ladies, they had to create 3 or 4 prototypes because the lady was pretty particular, right? But the learning experience and, get this, the empathy that is developed, right? That's priceless education. Those are those emotional intelligence skills that are going to carry these girls into the unknown, right? The uncertain future, and they will thrive.
And there is a power in alleviating the suffering of another human being and making their life better. There's power in that. That's life-changing. That's even, you got 4 attributes of the entrepreneurial mindset, but I would say that intentionally alleviating the suffering would be an attribute of being a great human.
Absolutely. 67% of U.S. employees are disengaged at work, and I wholeheartedly believe that's because they've not been able to connect their work to purpose, fulfillment, and calling. And we help students understand that when you do that early on through core values and mission and vision, what you're really doing is creating a life of purpose. And that is so rewarding.
Okay, so as we finish up, would you give all the educators out there who are listening to you a 1-minute pep talk on integrating these principles into the classroom?
Oh, absolutely. Look, and here's what that looks like is traditional education can be a frustrating world, but when we allow education to innovate and to change and to pivot with the entrepreneurial mindset, what we're doing is reaching students where they are, pulling them in with meaningful education and doing it in a way that creates lasting change. And it doesn't require some massive setup or a bunch of equipment. It's a mindset shift. It can start as early as today. I have a podcast called The Entrepreneurial Mindset where I talk about these principles in short 8-minute bursts. And the idea is if we just start shifting our mindset and helping our students to do the same, engagement becomes the metric by which we can measure the success of our classroom, and it is off the chart.
That is awesome. So Stephen Carter, author of Teaching the Entrepreneurial Mindset. These have been the 4 attributes of the entrepreneurial mindset. 1, growth mindset. 2, grit. 3, redefining failure. And 4, opportunity seeking. These are very powerful. And thanks for coming on the show, Stephen. As I work to keep up my personal licensing, I'm looking at Forward Edge and their Edge U Badges program. You can earn contact hours or graduate credit through this fantastic program. In this program, you earn micro-credentials for submitting tasks and learning content. Edge U Badges has former teachers review every single badge within 1 to 3 business days of submission. And no badge is ever denied without very specific feedback on what you and I can do to resubmit successfully, as well as the positive feedback we need on successful submissions. While classroom teachers like me and you are the primary beneficiary of this flexible, useful system of EduBadges, everyone from administrative assistants to administrators will find this helpful. This program has the ISTE seal of alignment, and EduBadges will work with you to help your district accept your transcript for licensure renewal hours. I've been looking for micro-credentialing that works and have finally found it. I'm so excited about this program of EduBadges from Forward Edge. So check them out at catteacher.com coolcat.com/edge and use the coupon code COOLCAT for $20 off a premium account. That's coolcatteacher.com/edge and use the coupon code COOLCAT for your discount. Let's learn in personalized ways that
You've been listening to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast. If you want more content from Vicki Davis, you can find her on Facebook, X.com, TikTok, Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky, and YouTube at Cool Cat Teacher. Thank you for listening.